Starting recording. Typically I do, John. Just did not this time because we're starting early.
Whatever. When we stop recording every friggin' week, people are sick of it.
I don't think they are.
The numbers say differently, John. The numbers say differently.
What numbers? Why don't I get any numbers?
Actually, you have access to all.
Do you never edit the show?
I've never been asked.
Probably a reason for that.
Because Eric's mean.
Apparently, everybody agrees with you, Thomas. I'm kind of an ass, apparently.
Nobody agrees with them.
All right. I think I got all the tweets done here.
Did I read it?
I've started off the last couple. If somebody else wants to start off.
Hello, you're listening to PHP Ugly episode 110. I'm John. Oh, that doesn't work. Scratch that. Rewind.
All right, what's wrong?
I didn't say PHP Ugly.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you have it right so far. You are John. This is episode 110 of PHP Ugly, which you could have led in. A professional would have just led into that.
Hello, you're listening to PHP Ugly episode 110. I'm John Congdon. With me, as usual, Eric Van Johnson.
Hello, John.
And Tom Rideout.
Hello, John.
Hello. How are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent.
Doing well. I'm sitting in a nice, cool house. So I'm totally stoked. John came over today and helped bug my home. Help install a Nest thermostat.
John's the one to call for bugging homes because he does have 7 cameras on his children.
in one room, 1 6x6 room,
something like that. So, Eric, I put in an Ecobee thermostat in my home months ago, and I also did some electrical work outside my house. I put electrical outlets out by my floodlights so that I could put up cameras outside because, as we all know, I'm obsessed with cameras. And Eric and I talked at that time, and he told me how scared he is of electricity. And I didn't believe him until I went over to his house today.
I have a completely unreasonable fear of electricity. I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the show.
I don't think we have.
Yeah, we've talked about phobias before, but I have. It's okay to be a little nervous around electricity, but what I have is way beyond that.
Thomas, you'll love this. I go over to his house, and we turn off the power to the entire house. Like, Eric's house is older, so he only has like 10 breakers to begin with, and he just shuts all of them off. Like, power is not in the house at all.
It's just off the grid completely.
As a side note, that's a typical workflow when I'm plugging and unplugging things. I just shut down all the power to the house.
I then take off the old thermostat, and I'm pulling the wires out to plug into the new Nest. And as soon as I'm not even touching the bare wire, I'm just touching the wire. And Eric's like flinching, backing up away from me. And then I actually get into wiring it. And I felt so bad. Like, I had planned on like doing the whole grab a wire and type of thing. But seeing how nervous he was, I chose not to do that at all.
I would have literally passed out.
That would have. See, if you'd had the power on, you could have got it on camera.
What made it even funnier is we put the power back on, and one of the wires wasn't connected right. So we're going through the setup, and the fan wasn't even blowing out at this point. So all I do is pull the Nest faceplate off, and I push the wire in while they're live and reconnect it. I really thought he was going to have an issue.
It gives me the willies now. Yeah.
It's not even high voltage lines.
Electricity is like one of those weird things. So I do know from my childhood, even young adult life, I had some bad experiences with electricity. Now, it wasn't me directly. I witnessed some bad experiences with electricity. Keeping in mind, I totally understand that the bad experiences I witnessed were poor decision making on the other person's area. But
they should have listened to you.
Well,
but the thing about electricity to this day, I have tried so hard to overcome this. But the thing about electricity to this day is that it bugs me so much that you can't see or smell, or you have no sense whether or not there's voltage running through a wire or how much voltage is running through a wire. And that freaks me the hell out. It just absolutely freaks me out.
I'm going to bring you a pair of pliers I have. I still have them to this day, and this probably happened 10, 15 years ago. More like 15 years ago.
Are they melted?
I'm trying to do something in my room with electricity. Turn the power off to this outlet. Everything's great. Go up in the attic, and I take a pair of needle nose pliers and cut through a line. I cut through a 220-volt line with needle nose pliers. The hair on my leg was singed. And there's 2 holes in these needle nose pliers where it just basically just broke them. It's like, nope.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't.
But I still have no issue with electricity, and I almost got electrocuted.
I have a brother-in-law who was an electrician for a while, and again,
it's never good when you used to be an electrician.
Oh man, that freaks me out, and I am so appreciative that John came, because I've wanted this Nest Cam. I've wanted this Nest thermostat forever. I think I wanted mine before John bought his. But I just realized I wasn't going to be able to install it, so I never
I thought you had it. I thought when I bought mine, you said you had one, and then you started talking to me yesterday about it, and you're like, "No, I'll go pick one up." I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I got in a pinch yesterday because my old school thermostat just flat out didn't work.
This thing looked like it was from the 70s.
Yeah,
really old
mine,
school.
Mine does too.
What was cute is after John gets this all installed, and we see how it works, and it has this really nice display. It has a really nice display, really well thought out interface, pretty cool. But John goes to leave, and my wife turns to me and she looks at me and she says, "So you realize now when the electricity goes out, our thermostat stops working." I'm like, you realize electricity goes out, it stops working anyways. It doesn't matter if it's the new one or the old one. There's no air conditioning with the electricity out.
You swapped out the diesel powered thermostat. Might have been a bad call.
That was funny. I'm glad I wasn't there for that one.
All right, I've got
wait, nope, not before you move on. The funny part is his thermostat is in his kitchen above his toaster, so every time he makes toast,
the absolute hottest room in the house, especially when dinner's being made, over the absolute hottest piece of equipment in the house sits my thermostat.
Making toast. Why is the AC on?
Yeah. Every morning around 7:30, the AC kicks on, and even in the middle of winter, can't figure it out.
Oh god,
that was so fun. All right, Eric, you were saying.
All right, so I have conspiracy theories. I've stated them in the past, and I am convinced that people are listening to us. As I had to prove to you guys, I had mentioned a few shows back about the fact that GitHub was hosting so much proprietary information, and nobody really seemed to be concerned about this. And then, like 3 weeks later, Microsoft buys GitHub. Coincidence? I think not.
Neither of us recall that conversation whatsoever.
I posted a link to it in Slack.
Didn't see that.
That wasn't on
Anyway,
that episode.
Peep, you were on. That was your pothead episode.
I wasn't
literally-
on that episode.
It's literally our
I may
most
have been-
popular
I may have been
episode.
sitting here. I may have been sitting here, but I wasn't there.
So I know Big Brother's listening, and I know people. So I have an idea. I would love to do this myself, but I don't think it's feasible. I wanted to put it out there in the ether, get some karma. Maybe somebody actually hears this, thinks it's a good idea, and implements it. But I wanted to talk to you guys and see what you thought, because this was like a brainstorm to me. I'm like, how is this not a thing? We're all digital assistant users, either the Google one or the Amazon one,
Or both.
or both. In many of our cases, like myself,
And myself.
I thought to myself, let's take the Google, or let's take the Amazon one, because that seems to be more popular. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a mode where it would snapshot? So let's say you're in your bedroom, you're with your wife, and you hear something funny going on in the house, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you could say, echo, what did I call it? Oh, echo security check. And when you say that, it takes a snapshot of your current environment, how everything is set up. Then it turns off all devices it has access to that has sound, like music, televisions, any outlets. Of course, this is all configurable. Any outlets you have. So, for example, I have a smart outlet that powers a little water fountain we have in our living room. Turns all those off, turns on all the lights that it has access to, and puts all the devices into intercom mode. So you, as the person, can now walk around your house to a fully lit house, listening to your devices to see if it's picking up any noises, but also talking to anybody else in the house, saying, "Yeah, no, I'm down in the basement, everything's fine." And then when this is
most of that as is.
Hmm?
You could do most of that as is.
Yeah, you can do the
True.
vast majority of that.
Through the
how
yeah.
would you do that?
You set up a routine that turns off all your outlets, turns off all your sound making devices, turns on all your lights. The only thing that I can't figure out would be putting all of your Echo devices into intercom mode.
Yeah, but that'd be really similar to the drop-in system.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
but
I
it's
would think
dropped
that-
in on all of them at once, which you can't currently do, as far as I know. You drop
No,
in
you
on
can't. You
a
can with the
single one.
Google device. I thought you could with the Amazon one. Maybe not.
I really don't know. I don't use it enough.
So the only problem, I like that idea. Maybe I need to set that up. I've never had a lot of luck with the routines. The only problem with that is to resume things. Ideally, the environment would reset. Like if it's playing music on a couple of devices, it would continue to play music. But you know, now
that
that
would be harder to do.
Now that you say that, though, so I was thinking this could even be expanded to smart devices like smoke detectors, where if a smoke detector goes off, it's configured to set everything in the environment like that. Like, hey, smoke detector's going off, turn on all the lights, turn off all the other sound, so people can hear the smoke detector, and put everything in intercom mode.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, $1 million deal. I'm glad you gave it away.
Could I do that with a routine though? I could probably do that with a routine, right? If it's
Yeah.
You would have to do
Assuming
it
you have
if it's
a smart
thing.
No, if you have a smart device,
smoke
if you have
detector.
a smart smoke detector, you should be able to do that.
Huh.
I haven't
So
seen
the
other
only thing-
smart devices fire commands off like that.
Yeah, you're probably right doing if this and that. Although, actually, that's not correct. SmartThings does that. If you think of the presence sensor, when I come within a certain range of SmartThings of my home, it does
I don't know what
X
that is.
things.
Really?
Yeah, SmartThings is a hub that I use that connects all of my devices, whether it's a SmartThings device, a Z-Wave device, a Zigbee device, and I can set up routines to turn on my office, turn off my office, for example. once once everybody that is considered a presence device, so me and my wife at this point, when we leave our home area geographically, 2 minutes later, our alarm automatically sets. When we get back within that area, the alarm turns off. And none of that is if this and that.
And if the alarm kicks off, can you have it do routines? Like, hey, if the alarm goes off, do this?
Yep. It sends me a text. Or if my garage door has been open for 15 minutes, it sends me a text saying, hey, your garage door is open. And that's not through if this and that.
So the only thing I should be able to accomplish, the only thing I couldn't do was get the environment back to the previous state.
That and the intercom on all Echo devices.
That's true too.
Yeah. I really like the SmartThings hub. And recently I started watching videos about this thing called Action Tiles. And this I started configuring it, and that's why I ordered an Android device, an Android tablet today. People are setting up Android tablets and putting them into frames on their walls. And I really want to know how this freaking company plans to make money. Action Tiles charges $25, and they're basically just a gateway from the web to SmartThings. So they set up an OAuth. Now you have access to all of your devices, your routines, and it creates basically just a grid of tiles, very configurable, that you can then click on. I want to turn this light on, this light off. I want to turn my alarm on, alarm off. You could set up security. So if somebody does come into your house and clicks on a button, they have to enter a PIN for it to do whatever action that is per button. But
that was
enough.
That was a caveat with my security check. To put the system back into resume mode, the person has to say it to the same Echo device that he enabled safe check on, in case there is a burglar. You say safe check mode. The burglar says no, resume.
So going back to Action Tiles, it's fascinating to me, and I haven't taken enough time to look at the details of how it works. But if it's through WebSockets, like I assume it is, because it's a web interface that's constantly connected, they have a bandwidth bill, but they charge a one-time flat fee of like $25. It's like, how is that not a subscription service?
WebSockets are very smart about bandwidth. That's why they're so popular.
If they're using something like AWS Lambda, that's care. I mean, they can run that pretty.
I don't care if it's super cheap. At some point, I'm going to use up $25 worth of bandwidth on my WebSockets.
That's true. Yeah.
In a year or in a month?
No,
it's a one-time fee. You said
20 years. One-time fee.
Yeah.
If it was $25 a month, okay, makes more sense. But
and
it's
actually,
a one-time fee.
One of the videos I'm seeing shows a feed of cameras too.
Yeah. You can have videos playing, you can have cameras playing. Granted, they probably don't feed that through their servers. It's probably just a URL to whatever device you have.
Yeah.
But
there's some super cheap Android tablets too. I was at Walmart the other day. There's like Android tablets there for like $100. It's ridiculous.
No, I bought one off of Amazon today for $40.
Yeah,
$40. Holy smokes!
Number one tablet right now is the $40 Amazon Android tablet.
Yeah, I could have gone with the Kindle Fire for $30 or $35, but I just know I'll have better luck with Android. Personally, not dealing with that.
Kindle. So. I'm really disappointed with what they did with the Kindle. They actively block Google stuff on Kindles. They Google Chat, Google all the normal Google things that you would have on an Android device. Amazon actively blocks it and really kind of cripples the whole experience in my honest opinion, including the Android Play Store. You have to go through the Amazon store.
Well, that's why it's so cheap. They're selling it at a loss.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sideload it. It's not that difficult to sideload, but what a pain.
My big annoyance with even it's not jailbreaking, it's rooting an Android device. you have to have a Windows friggin' machine, and I don't have a single one of those in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I could probably do it through virtual machines, and I haven't even gone that far. I just don't care enough.
Or Linux.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of roots on Linux.
Yeah, whatever. Thomas, I have a question for you.
Okay, I have a question for you afterwards, though.
Okay. What's the difference between UTC and GMT?
3.
Okay, perfect.
3.
Boy.
This came up today, and I thought you would know.
Well,
All the
because
fun we have talking about time zones and stuff. Yeah, the question of UTC GMT came up.
Yeah, so GMT is an actual time zone. It's the Greenwich Mean Time.
Means.
The UTC isn't an actual place or time zone. It is the standard. So GMT.
Did you Google this while I asked you the question?
No, I read this article last week.
Oh, because that's the exact definition I got when I Googled it.
So GMT, by my understanding, is UTC plus 0.
Right.
And
exactly.
So everything is centered off of UTC, even GMT, even though GMT is just UTC plus 0.
Yes, GMT is a time zone. That was fun. All right,
So
your question for me.
It was cool to find that out.
You said in the chat earlier that you had to remove people from our Trello board because of the meetup this week.
I said that? No, I did not say that. I did not.
Said, quote unquote, it's all about security after last night's meetup.
Eric removed people. I second that. Last night, so we had SDPHP last night, and the subject of the presentation was "Where's the beef?" which I love because I'm a older person that understands that saying. And I guess there's this whole framework called the browser exploitation framework. It's basically a thing you can download. It's code that you can put onto a server, and the way you can use it is to inject JavaScript onto another site. Obviously, if you're doing it for a presentation like this person did, you get everyone in the room to go to a site that has it on there. I'm trying to get the presenter to actually create an app that is exploitable through XSS to inject JavaScript onto somebody else's site. But this thing is freaking amazing. All of the plugins or extensions that it has, basically, as soon as you go to that site that is exploited, the person who has control of this framework can now detect if you have things like LastPass or QuickTime. I mean, there's just so much stuff. They can play sounds on your computer. They can activate your webcam. And it's so freaking scary that you can click on a link, be taken somewhere, not realizing that you have this happening. There's automatically a keylogger installed, so as you're typing, things are put in there. I could pop up a little, what looks like a Facebook login screen. So you're like, oh, I need to log in with Facebook, and put in your username and password. There was something else that was, you could change the links on that site. Not necessarily, so when you hover over a link, you're like, okay, this is going to Google. You could do one of two things. You could change the link so when you hover over it, you see where it's going, but you could also change the on-click event so you don't see. You hover over the link, you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Google. You click on it, and you go to some other completely different domain.
Which is actually something that Google does.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Google search results fake the destination.
What?
You didn't know? You didn't know?
Are you shitting me?
No.
Stop it.
They want to track your click. So when you click on it, it fires an event that tracks the click and then directs to.
But they still show you the URL you're going to end up at.
That you're going to end up at, but not the URL that you go to.
doesn't matter. There's still I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But they could do that without changing that. It's on event, send the tracking information to Google and then go to this URL.
Yeah, I think they do actually a little bit more than that. But
anyway,
this story is not about Google.
The fact that just by doing SQL injection or cross-site scripting, which I loved a slide in his presentation that says it's more than just alert XSS, which is the de facto standard. You inject this alert into someone else's site, and all of a sudden there's an alert pop up.
Right.
The fact that he should be able to take this and exploit a site, whether one that he creates is just fine, but you create a fake shopping site where you can inject this JavaScript code into and have complete control over someone's machine should scare the absolute bejesus out of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand XSS. I knew a lot of this stuff already, but the fact that this beef framework was out there,
making it so easy to do,
making it so easy that even if you're a script kiddie, you can do it, is even scarier.
Yeah, and this is considered like a 1-day or 2-day exploit framework too. It's not considered a 0-day exploit framework. So the stuff that's really scary is the stuff it can do with 0-day exploits, where you can root a whole machine with the 0-day exploit through the browser.
Mm-hmm. This is more gathering data. So if I could inject JavaScript into your site, I can sit back and wait, and it could take me days, weeks, but I'm gathering data about information on people and then trying to exploit their machines.
Which is one of the reasons that it's recommended that you have comparative snapshots of your own website. You should be able to snapshot your source code and see if there's a change.
Yeah, but this isn't even source code.
It wouldn't change the source code of the other site. It's just in the browser.
If I have like a WYSIWYG installed on my site where I'm accepting people pasting stuff in, and I don't do a good enough job of sanitizing that or escaping it on output, and I allow you to put script tags in there, you could put a script tag into this exploitation, this beef framework, and you would never know because it's in the database at that point.
Well, now there are a lot of frameworks that are sort of the other side of this. IDS systems, intrusion detection systems,
mm-hmm.
which do scrub log files and track.
Right, but that's server based. That's
mm-hmm.
And then client's never going to see that.
Snort comes to mind.
But you can see if your access logs, if you paste your access logs into these intrusion detection systems, they'll look for attempted exploits. And
yeah, that's pretty.
But your access, that doesn't work on a post. You're not going to see that.
You can't paste a post. Posts are controlled way differently because of XSS.
But that's what I'm saying.
With posting,
if you're not filtering your input, it doesn't matter. You're not going to see it in access logs.
You still might not in the access logs, but there are other technologies in IDS systems that could pick up on it.
So the problem with that idea is that at that point, as an end user, you're depending on the owner of that website actually caring about this stuff and monitoring it and having
that's
having
a big
skill set.
Big thing. If you're not filtering your input, you're not going to have an IDS.
IDS I think that's wicked expensive.
No, Snort is free. It's open source.
Yeah.
But Snort is not the high level stuff that you would need if you were really concerned about these threats.
Snort's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the standard that all the paid services piggyback on. But again, to John's point, the scary thing about this is as the user getting hit with this stuff and never even knowing it. it's terrifying. John was so impressed by this talk, which isn't very. John is always very appreciative of presenters, but it's very rare that I see him truly blown away by a speaker. It's happened a couple times. As a matter of fact, a few of the speakers we have presenting at Wave PHP, John basically came to me this morning and says, we've got to find room for this talk at Wave. We've got to make sure that people who attend Wave have an opportunity to see this talk. So we're actually thinking about trying to. Fortunately, the presenter is local and willing to speak. So we're going to probably do some shuffling around with the schedule and try to slip him in somewhere so that it's out there. It'll be good to have a strong security talk out there. I personally missed the talk, so I'm hoping that he does it so I can have an opportunity to see it.
Yeah, we talked about how to make it even better than it was. It was a great talk, but there are ways to improve it, and come to Wave PHP and see it. We're going to try and make sure it happens, now, even if it's Google, in an uncon.
Chrome is making a change in response to this kind of stuff as well. I don't know if you guys know, but there's going to be a version coming out soon that does not let you install extensions from third-party sources anymore.
How does that prevent this, though?
Because one of the big deployable exploits once you get into somebody's system is installing an extension on their browser that's listening to every page they go to and everything they do.
I agree
and now coming up, the only way you'll be able to install an extension is through the Chrome Web Store.
But you can still install third-party extensions, right? So they're just going to do it.
They not even in developer mode, not even if you go through every possible.
No, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is not all extensions are going to be Google extensions. No.
You can't install them from third-party sources, so they have to be through the Google Store.
So they're doing like an Apple Store vetting process where they're going to check security. They're going to do some basic stuff.
That's the idea.
Do you ever install extensions from not the Google Store?
I was for a period of time developing an extension and had to do it many times.
Huh. I've never done it.
I don't know if I've ever done it either. Maybe I have. Maybe for like LastPass or something.
But going back to this B framework, you could install an extension from it. I believe you could create and install it. So basically doing what Thomas is saying.
And that's what they're disabling.
Yeah. But on the flip side, yes, they're helping in that way. But another one of the features of it was creating an iframe that is basically the full width of your viewport. So you think you're going to a different page, but they're still logging all of your keystrokes.
That is nasty.
It really was.
Did you guys see the CSS exploit that came out a couple weeks ago or a week ago?
No.
Mm-mm.
There's a new CSS style that lets you do masks over divs so that you can do effects like Photoshop does, where you can invert something or, oh shoot, I gotta do something real quick. You could invert colors, you could do shadow masks, you could do stuff like that. And it turned out that there was an issue where you could pop these divs over an input field that was hosted on some other page. So you had an iframe and you could just pop 2,000 of these divs over that iframe, and it could read the iframe by checking the calculation time for the div to render. And it was pretty stunning demo.
So what were they doing? Was it a keylogger or?
It was designed to, the demo that I saw was pulling information from your Facebook profile that it shouldn't have been able to pull
Through just CSS?
through just CSS.
Wow.
I didn't even know that was possible. That's crazy.
I'd love to see a link to that information.
You should check Slack because that's where I posted it when I found it.
If I'm
Well,
not
why don't
mentioned, I don't look at Slack. How many times do I got to
Why
tell
don't
you
you
that?
put it in the
No,
show notes?
We already know that because nobody
Oh,
responded. No one seemed to care. I thought it was awesome, but no one cared.
Nobody.
Because people
It's already-
only respond when they're mentioned.
It's already been patched, so the demos won't work.
Oh, then why are we talking about it?
Because that's the kind of 0-day stuff that's I'm really fascinated by.
So you mentioned Facebook.
Is something going on
And
with Facebook?
No, if you're not a long time listener to the show, I always feel like I have to explain a little bit because I don't want. Sometimes when I say something, the perception gets twisted a little bit. So, but if you're a long time listener to the show, you know I'm not a Facebook user. Again, this was no conscious effort to boycott Facebook or any of that stuff. It wasn't even a conscious effort to try to get more focus. I just personally, for me, got tired of Facebook, got tired of the feeds. I didn't feel like I was getting anything out of it. And so I started cutting back. For the longest time, I'd stopped logging into Facebook on my browser and I only had it on my phone. And a couple weeks ago, I didn't have to, but I did a reset of my phone and didn't even think about it, didn't even log into Facebook. So I probably went 2 or 3 weeks just flat out across the board, never even going to Facebook, and didn't miss it because I'd already kind of weaned myself off of it. But I really realized, and as kind of hard as it is to say this, is I kind of need Facebook because when I did log in, and I forgot, my sister-in-law was flying out here for a visit, and the primary way she communicates is through Facebook messaging. That's when I realized that I hadn't been logged into Facebook for a while. So I log into Facebook, I hit Facebook so that we could coordinate plans and efforts with my sister-in-law. And I'm flooded with all this information that I missed. And 95% of it I didn't care about. But there were some very key things that I missed. I missed John's wife had sent us a invitation to their son's birthday party. Totally didn't have any idea that was out there, nor did I even have any idea it was coming up.
Nor did he care.
Mine must have got lost in the mail.
But more importantly, a very, very close friend of mine, mother, was having some serious health issues. And I just missed it. I mean, there was a whole thread about it, and he was keeping family and friends posted on her progress, and I was completely out of the loop.
Does your wife doesn't track this for you?
We have different friends. We follow different people, so there are things that are missed. So yeah, and, she didn't catch this, but I honestly felt like I was out of the loop on some very important topics, and I want to stress 95% of the stuff I didn't miss. It's like none of this is important to me, but there is a set of information that I have grown dependent on through Facebook that I realized I wasn't getting anymore. It was a weird feeling. I still don't post to Facebook a lot, and maybe I should because I realize that people are listening. Like, friends do care about your status, but I tell you what, man, I felt bad, especially for this one friend who his kid was having a birthday party. I felt bad for this friend whose mother was having some health issues because we were very, very close. His mother is a very important person to me. And the fact that I wasn't aware of this, I don't know, man. It hurt, man. I'm like, damn, I can't believe she's been sick for this long, and I didn't know about this. And again, ideally in the real world, if that should have filtered to me another way, but as I mentioned,
just how people communicate. Yeah,
right. And as I mentioned in the last show, I grew up on the East Coast. My East Coast life, in as I've stated on the show before as well, my Facebook interactions are very different than my West Coast life and my professional interactions. People on Facebook don't really understand what I do. They don't understand that I do a podcast. They don't understand that I have a development company or the coding. My Facebook life are friends of mine from high school from the East Coast who, I won't run into them at the store, or I won't run into a friend at the park. I just had this happen to me the other day here physically on the West Coast. I ran into a friend at the dog park when I took my dog for a walk, who I worked with 15 years ago, and he had informed me that one of our colleagues that we worked together with had passed away the week before. I found out that information before I found out this other information because of that real life interaction. But this Facebook is that interaction for me, for my friends in the past, the people who I still care about, the families I still feel like I belong to, but I don't have that ability to physically run into them anymore.
Right. So do you consciously keep your Twitter feed, your Twitter list and your Facebook list kind of separate?
I do. That's
kind of how it worked out.
Yeah. So obviously with Twitter, I don't control who follows me. But in Twitter, I typically only follow people who I'm interested in, interested in as far as coding. My Twitter feed is very coder heavy. I don't have very much outside that. On Facebook, I usually prune down who I friend on Facebook. I have a couple of ex-colleagues that I've worked with on Facebook. I have a couple of kind of geek things. Like I think I follow Cal Evans on Facebook, but the majority of the stuff I follow on Facebook are just old friends and acquaintances.
So following Cal Evans is kind of pointless because he's got the same thing I have, which is a bridge. Every time I tweet, it goes to Facebook, and that's what Cal Evans does too. And going back to my 2004 to 2012, that 8 years, kind of when things became popular, like Facebook and Twitter, I set that bridge up, and I basically accepted everyone. So I've got people on my Facebook account that I don't necessarily know personally, but they knew me from previous podcasts or blogs that I've done. And I keep thinking about going back to my Facebook and just really pruning that out and making it a family only type of thing. But it really is. It was branding. I was branding myself, and these people know me on Facebook. And
have you ever thought about
reach out?
Have you ever thought about creating another Facebook persona that's more family?
No, I've seen people you're violating terms of service. You can't do that.
You think his Facebook feed could become more about family? Have you?
So but his point is I shouldn't be sharing this stuff with random people that know me because I did a video podcast back in the day.
Sure, you unfriend them. You have to curate, man.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that because I was branding myself and I want to be able to share if I have business news, if I want to share something that I've created, maybe I want to put it out to cast a wide net. I don't want to,
So like sometimes you want to publish something to a small circle, and sometimes you want it to be a large circle.
Which you can do on Facebook, but I also want to keep something out there. I don't want to be.
You know where that terminology comes from?
No, I don't really care.
Google did the social network thing where you could define any number of circles.
But you can do that on Facebook too.
Yeah, you can do that.
Circle thing. They obviously Google failed in that, but they were trying to compete with Facebook, and that just didn't work out.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm looking at my friend request list now because I I don't delete friend requests. I just don't confirm them. And I have friend requests from people who, you have a mutual friend, Spencer is a mutual friend of ours who I follow Spencer, or actually follow Spencer's wife on Facebook, but because of that relationship, this other person was able to send me a friend request. I'm like, I don't know who this person is. I'm not accepting this friend request. I'm sure you're a good person, but I'm not accepting your friend request.
So yeah, I should be more dedicated to that, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But on another note,
it just depends on how you want to use it. Go ahead.
Yeah. On another note, I'm fascinated by security things, and I logged into Facebook today, and because of the way you have connections with people, they have a new way to regain access to your account if you lose your password, or say you're using a password manager and all of a sudden that just goes to hell and you can't log in. Now Facebook has trusted contacts, so you can set 3 to 5 people as your trusted contacts, and if you lose access to your account, basically Facebook will give those 3 to 5 people a piece of information that you can then use to get back into your account. So while I trust you, Eric, I don't fully trust you to have access to my account. But if I ask 5 people, hey, I don't have access to my account, can you tell me these, whatever they give you, combine that all together, I then get access to my account. I thought that was fascinating.
No, I recently did this with LastPass, actually, where I made my wife a trusted. Yeah, I made my wife a trusted contact, and their rules are slightly different. So if she requests access to my vault, then I get an email and a text and a bunch of stuff. And if I don't respond within X amount of time, then it gives her access to my vault.
Really? That's scary. What if you miss that?
You set the amount of time. So it defaults to like 3 days.
Okay, but still, if you don't get that communication for whatever reason, that's scary.
Yeah, well, you're setting the person as a trusted contact in the first place, and there's the timed layout. John just froze, making the greatest face. And he's gone.
Yeah, I say he actually froze. He's gone. He blew his mind. They'll say bye. I'll never come back.
There's no incentive now. I'm gonna get a beer while he's AWOL.
All right.
I had to log back in.
We just lost Thomas. Now he had to go get a beer. It logged you out in the middle of a hangout.
Yeah, like I had to log back into my Diego Dev account.
That's so weird. So that happened to somebody the other day, where they said we were having a company meeting, and they were like, "Yeah, it just logged me out." I think it was Carolyn for some reason, but yeah, it just logged me out.
You want to hear some more security stuff?
No, I was in the middle of something, so I'm going to pick up at that point. But you call them a trusted contact, but do you really want them having full access to your account? In this case, the whole point is I want access back to my account, but I don't necessarily want you to have access. I could see LastPass being a good thing for I got hit by a bus scenario.
And I think that's what this is. I think this is, if I get hit by a bus, then you have a week. You have to wait a week to get all my passwords, but at least you still get my Ethereum stuff or whatever.
Yeah, that's a different use case, but very valid.
As I say, actually, Facebook has that too. That if a person passes, you can. I just saw this recently. You can assign somebody who has the ability to take over management of your Facebook account in the event of your death.
Really?
Yeah.
But how do they have?
I would have to
how they do that.
Yeah, I forget the details on it, but I can. I'm sure it should be pretty easy to find. But
I still get concerned about Thomas's thing with LastPass, where granted, they may be trying to contact me 2 or 3 different ways, but if I happen to miss all those pieces of communication and my wife's account was exploited, like somebody got access to her email and then they send off this request for access to my account.
You got
That's
7
scary.
days to stop it from happening.
Okay, hopefully LastPass is communicating at least once a day saying, hey, you've got 6 days left. Hey, you got 5 days left. And not just like a one time, you've got 7 days to respond. If you don't, they got access. It'd be interesting. Tell her to try it out. Respond next week. Let me know how it works.
It's called a legacy contact. What you can add a legacy contact to your account. I'll add this to the show notes.
All right. Quick fun story. On Thursday mornings, we do a co-working session at Holy Crepes. Okay, 2 fun stories. Because I thought of this as I was telling it.
John's chatty tonight.
I'm
sorry.
He's moved from pot to crystal meth, and he's up now.
I tell you, it's a gateway drug.
Exactly. So we do this co-working thing at a place called Holy Crepe in Poway. Anyone's invited. So if you're listening to this show and you want to come out, hang out, go for it. I happened to be walking and saw a note in the window that says, no outside food or drink allowed, with 3 exclamation points at the end. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, that's very aggressive. What's going on? And we're very friendly with the owner. So I asked him, I'm like, what happened? And literally on the street he's on Saturdays is a farmer's market?
Farmer's market,
Where there's just tons of different things available. And there's a very good crepe station. You can go there and get a crepe. People have the audacity to buy crepes from the farmer's market and then walk into his store and buy like a Coke or coffee or something and sit down and eat the crepe in his shop.
See, is it audacity or is it idiots?
It's both. It's
Well,
crazy.
and finish what happened when he confronted the person.
Well, at first he told me he didn't want to confront them, but he said something. And they're like, "Oh, we didn't know you sold crepes." The name of the place is called Holy Crepe. It's in the name of the place. It's on the outside of the building.
So stupidity.
I thought that was hilarious. The second funny story. Again, I went over to Eric's house to install the Nest today. I walk out of the crepe place. As I'm walking out to my car, I'm hitting the button. I hear my door unlock, and my mind is just somewhere else. And I'm like looking at traffic. And I haven't told Eric this yet, so it's kind of funny. I'm trying to open the car door, and it's not opening. Hit the button again on my key. Hear the door unlocking. Continue trying to open it. It's not opening. I do it a 3rd time. It's still not opening. I finally look down. I'm at the wrong car.
Yeah.
I think I'm laughing at myself. I kind of look up, just laugh at myself, get in my car, pull out. And then Marcus, who was there with us, sends me a message on Slack. I saw you trying to get into the wrong car. I felt like such an idiot, but it was funny. I went to write this to you earlier, Eric, and decided not to. Saved it for the show.
You guys know what time it is.
Time to go to bed. Just good night.
It's time for doom and gloom.
Okay, go for it.
Do you want us to cheer or something? What are you looking for here? Holy
He's looking for the
smokes.
applause button.
Pausing for effect.
Yeah, so he's pausing. He's running his doom and gloom music in his post editing process right
I'm
now.
getting into my space, my mental space. There's big new concern about ultrasonic signaling between devices. Apps running on your phone that can access the microphone are listening for ultrasonic signals coming from retail locations. There are several companies, Silverpush, Listener, and Shopkick, that sell devices that communicate with the customer's cell phone to get the IMEI numbers and essentially cookie your phone. So as you shop around the mall or wherever you are, it tracks your location, it tracks information about your phone, it tracks what it is you're buying in the store because it knows that you were in that store just then when that purchase was made and then left. Stuff that's really invasive and is just another extension of a technology that was disclosed by Edward Snowden in 2014, where these ultrasonic signals that people can't hear are being picked up by phones and used by nefarious third parties. And these are all dealing with apps that have this API installed because they're being given $5 a month for every 1,000 customers that have it installed, or what have you. And so the app has any access that the app has to your phone is being disclosed ultrasonically to a third party when you enter these stores. And these are not.
I zoned out halfway through that. What app is this?
It's an API that's being included in applications, and this research company found 234 Android applications that do this kind of high frequency based tracking, and 3 different APIs that are advertising themselves as customer tracking and customer management and customer monitoring.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to see the list of apps that are doing this, if they're legitimate or if they're games. And then you have to give access to your microphone. So I'm completely guilty of this, installing, going and picking a game I want to play, some stupid mindless game for a few minutes. And then it's asking me for access to my photos. And originally when I first started doing this, I was granting access thinking, oh, they need to be able to store their assets on my phone. And then shortly after I realized, no, this is stupid. They don't need access to this. They don't need my photos. Same thing would be with microphone. If something's asking for your microphone, you need to know why. And if you're playing a game or doing something that you're not actually using the microphone, they don't need access to it.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in the last show. The problem with that, first thing, like normal people don't even think about that. Like my mom, my sister, they just start hitting yes. But then you have these applications that, I agree. Like you're playing a game, you say it doesn't need access to your mic, but it won't let you play the game unless you give it access.
Right. Which you need to be. You need to know. You need to know what those permissions mean, and that's the hard part. Again, most people just say yes to it, but if it needs something that you really don't think it needs, and you say no and it doesn't let you, then you're like, screw it. I'm not using whatever the app this is.
You guys are both on Android. What version of Android are you on?
I have a Pixel, so I'm on the latest.
Yeah, I don't even know which version I'm on. I would have to check.
But you're on the S9, so you're the latest too, I believe.
Yeah, right. I have 8.0. And going from old, I think 6.0 to 8.0, I was really impressed with the security changes.
They changed a lot. It used to be you had to accept all of the permissions up front. So when you install the app, you had to say, I agree to all of this.
Right.
Now it's in the app. You don't do it when you install it. As you're using the app, you can say, I need access to the microphone. And the person has to say yes or no. I need access to your camera, yes or no.
And you can say, don't ask me again. And it happens as the API call occurs. So it's not all up front. It's when the action is requested.
Right.
But on top of that, I also get notifications from my phone that say, hey, this application has the mic open right now.
Oh, really?
So when I'm doing Hangouts, with my wife, I get an icon in the corner that says applications currently using microphone and lists the applications that have an open mic.
I'm going to check that out. I've never seen that.
Where do you get that? In the menu or?
It might be Samsung specific.
Well, I'm
From
Samsung.
what I've read, vendors are starting to include this separate from Android.
Mm-hmm.
But
Where do you?
So is it doing that on Facebook with you? You know, we've talked about the security issues with Facebook recently.
I
Listening
haven't
to the
pulled up
conversation?
Facebook. I'm not sure.
Eric,
What
we'll
I-
have to try that.
what I did
that
find
Hangout
was
thing
that-
later.
It had an ignore functionality. So ignore when this app is using the mic and don't notify me. And I had a bunch of apps that were ignored by default.
I'll have to give that a shot because, like I said, I have the S8, so I would like to. I don't use. I mean, I do use the mic with Slack. I'll take Slack calls occasionally on my phone, so I'll have to try that out and see if that works.
Fun. All right, are we done with doom and gloom? Can I talk about something else?
Oh my god, I wish.
Okay,
I had
I'm
something
going to
to
talk about something else then.
do it. I forget.
There was
Eric,
Yes,
recent
I'm taking over.
massive problem
Nope.
with
I'm taking over.
Docker.
go ahead, John. What are you talking about?
We're often asked by developers what they can do to take when they're trying to be hired, right? And what is one of the big things we often tell people to do?
Pay off the interviewer.
Perfect. Exactly.
Low cut dress.
What's the second thing we talk about? It's GitHub. We
GitHub,
often tell people to have a GitHub account with code on there. I recently came across a tweet that I thought was hilarious. And it says, "I won't hire a plumber without seeing some of the public toilets they've unclogged in their spare time for fun."
Yeah, perfect. Makes
That's-
complete sense to me.
Exactly.
So it made me start
And
rethinking.
that's why I was in that men's room at that truck stop, officer.
That made me start rethinking about my advice I give to people about having a GitHub account. And while it's great, that shouldn't be the end all to getting hired.
Well, I think that's always been our point. I mean, and that was our plea to interviewers. You shouldn't be basing your hiring practices on somebody's GitHub repo, but having that as a tool to review is a very powerful thing. I mean, that doesn't change. So I still see the benefit of having it, but
not requiring.
I don't
Right,
know, man. If you give me a printout that says, what is this test doing? What is this class referencing? What type of repository is this? How does this thing resolve to the other files it needs to find? You can quiz someone in 20 questions and get just as much information out of reading their GitHub for 10 hours.
This is true, and I'm not denying that. But for example, I have a very good friend who just went through an interview process where they did the whole sample code, which again, I don't know if I'm a fan of the sample code. Like, here's a problem, code a solution for it. But he's a super, super talented developer. He contributes to open source constantly. He has a ton of packages out there. He has his own CMS. He leads actual open source development efforts for other people. So he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's not a fly by night fake developer. The guy has serious talent. But he was presented with this coding challenge for this job interview, and he accomplished. He admittedly didn't address all the features they were looking for. He got stressed for time, and so he got done what he could get done. But the interpretation, the way the code was interpreted and the patterns that he used, the interviewer didn't necessarily agree with. And so it's just like, okay, well, this is a snapshot of one effort, of one challenge of a guy who has no insight of your coding practice that you've asked him to resolve. Why don't you go to his GitHub repo, see all the other things that he has accomplished and make your, get all this information in and make your decision. And that's like saying not to look at a GitHub repo for kind of a barometer of how good somebody or the not necessarily how good, but how a person develops. It's like saying you shouldn't ask any question in an interview. Like if somebody wants a job, they just sign up, and if they show up on time, then you hire them because everything's you're not allowed to probe for any information, or you're not allowed to use any resource or take any resume.
Yeah, so, I'm okay with that.
No. So the plea is more towards the plea is more towards the people doing the interviews.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Repos.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm very passionate about my beliefs in coding. So
in literally everything. You've also been told to tone it down a little too.
By several people.
All right, we're over an hour in. Thomas, you have one more doom and gloom, and then I'm hanging up.
You know what? I don't even feel like doom and gloom. I don't even feel like doom and gloom. I'm going to bring up something that's just totally, I think, is awesome, and it's not even related to PHP. It's just cool.
Yeah, why go out with PHP? That makes no sense.
Oh, so let's touch on this before Thomas says anything. We got. I think this is really cool. Somebody tweeted out right before the show started. Somebody tweeted out a screenshot of them doing a DuckDuckGo search where they typed in PHP space ugly.
Pretty sure they typed in "Why is PHP so ugly?" and we.
I don't think they were looking specifically for our show, but we showed up as the top search result. Which is quite the accomplishment between those two search terms of PHP and ugly, because that's got to be a pretty popular term for developers to search on. So the fact that our show shows up in that search result is pretty awesome. I thought that was fun.
As you guys know,
but nobody uses DuckDuckGo, so
everybody does. As you guys know, I love...
Hey, John, I wonder if we can keep cutting Thomas off for like the rest of the night before he actually has a breakdown.
I'm already so close to a breakdown. I'm living in my own squalor at this point. It's been 2 weeks since my wife has went on her vacation.
So your wife left you? Oh, right. We're still calling a quote-unquote vacation. I'm sorry.
Road trip.
She's road tripping out of your marriage.
Things have gotten bleak around the house. The cats have stopped talking to me.
The problem is, you should be worried when they actually start talking to you. That's when you.
That was last week. The last week they were talking to me. Now I'm getting the silent treatment.
Were we done talking?
Yes, you were. It's my turn.
I forgot.
No, but he said everybody uses DuckDuckGo, and I'm confused by that. Who uses DuckDuckGo?
Everybody on 4chan.
But okay. Now you've gone from everybody to everybody on 4chan.
Yes, I've intentionally murdered the topic. I've intentionally taken a knife to the conversation.
But we're looking for you.
We're trying to keep it going.
Thomas, what's your sources?
4chan.
Everybody on 4chan. So I would like a list of everybody on there to make sure they use.
The whole point of it is you can't make a list of them.
Aren't they using something other than DuckDuckGo at this point?
No, isn't there a new? What's the latest, greatest?
Hour and 10.
Tom was like, "Fuck these guys! I'm cutting out. Fuck them."
I'm gonna do the podcast myself.
I can't. Yeah, I don't have authority to mute you, do I? No. Oh wait, I do. I'm editing the podcast.
All right, go ahead.
You've done this to yourself. I'm going back to doom and gloom.
No!
8 months ago, somebody reported to Docker Hub that there were dozens of compromised, backdoored Docker images.
Dozens out of 3 million Docker images. There were dozens compromised of obscure Docker images that nobody downloaded. Okay, got it. Go ahead.
But we do have the list of how many times they were downloaded, right? So
We do have a list of how many times
They
they
were
were
all
downloaded.
14 users who got to it through DuckDuckGo.
Probably were. Not dozens, 17 total images. But the issue is that these images were running Monero miners. And
that's a brilliant idea.
It is. Docker Hub was notified because Docker Hub is the place where you say, I want to get this image, and it just grabs it. You say Docker up or Docker install, and it just fetches it from Docker Hub.
So if you have something compelling enough that you think people want to install, and you can get them to install your image,
Right,
that
that's the
is
thing.
fascinating.
I don't know what your vetting process is for Docker is, but for me personally, like if I'm downloading a Mongo image, I usually get the image from Mongo or MySQL from MySQL. It always you see, because we use Docker a lot and more. You'll always see these images from other people, like these random images. In my head, I always assume, oh, these are just people who are creating images. You publish it to Docker Hub because that's how you download them. But you never really, or I would never have the expectation of somebody downloading my customized image configuration for a Docker for that very reason, because they would see it, they'd be like, who's this guy? He's got 100 downloads. Why would I download his image?
So
I can go over here.
The fascinating part is that it is only 17 Docker images that were backdoored in this way. And the one that I can see linked here was memory test. So it looks like these weren't just random Docker images with random names. These were Docker images for applications that didn't exist, that provided some kind of new utility function.
Right.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So I'm still the mindset that I don't know if I would do that.
You want to check how much memory your other Docker images are running, or how much the current Docker image is running, and you install memory test because you just browse around and look it up and find it. So, and then
what's cool about this, if you're not familiar with Docker, I shouldn't say cool, what's scary about this is if you're not familiar with Docker, you wouldn't be able to tell that there's an exploit to this Docker image by looking at any of the Docker configurations, because it's pulling in operating system images, which even the hashes wouldn't compare to, like the official Ubuntu release hash wouldn't compare to this hash, and you wouldn't expect it to, because it's been configured specifically for whatever the functionality is. So you as an end
whatever
user,
they're telling you it's supposed to do.
right? There's no visible, like you couldn't look at the config file and say, hey, why is it making this call? This is weird, because the actual image has been manipulated.
Yeah, and so what's happening here is that there's a lot of accusations of bots artificially starring images to bump them up the response list from Docker Hub. Stuff like that, where because they were mining a cryptocurrency, they were able to see how much cryptocurrency was mined. And at the time of the article being written, it was $90,000. So
wow.
It wasn't just random images being uploaded. It was a very sophisticated attack. It was a very sophisticated plot. And it would appear that valid images or existing images had been poisoned by this user. He had gone in and gotten updates pushed out to legitimate Docker images that you would normally trust, like the Kubernetes honeypot. So it's a very sophisticated attack. What's interesting is it only mined $90,000 because Monero is CPU-based mining. But this is very similar to
good amount of money, though.
It's not a bad haul. And Monero is an anonymous crypto network. There's no way to figure out who this person is or get that money back or see where it went. So smart, but malicious nonetheless. And this reminds me of issues that NPM has seen and issues that Composer has seen, where you have this authoritative source that gets compromised. And
so for clarification, Thomas, I don't know if you're looking at the YouTube chat. We have a high potato in there right now from Philly asking.
Oh, I see.
Are you saying that official images had been exploited?
I don't think official, like the Ubuntu image hasn't been exploited, for example. You still have to.
No, but official as in images that were legitimate. Images that were legitimate appear to have been attacked.
Pulling in this image.
Yeah, pulled in some kind of pull request or something. I'm not sure what the process is for that, but according to the article that I'm reading, sysdig.com accused the user that was doing these poisonings of hitting the Kubernetes honeypot, which is a quote unquote legitimate image.
Interesting. Do we have the list of 17 that were exploited that we could put in the show notes?
I'm digging for it.
Yeah, and this is not.
We're talking about out of got to be thousands of images. 17.
Yeah, and again, this is not a new issue. This has always been a potential threat with any open source. So any open source software out there, but even like virtual boxes, people were sharing virtual machines for a while. And still do. I mean, you can create a virtual machine image and share it. This is always going to be an exploit. It's just a matter of you as a user have to take responsibility of the tools you decide to use and make sure you vet them properly before using them.
Yeah, that can be really hard.
Yeah, it can. I mean, there's no doubt anybody can get bit by this. You know, there's just malicious people are going to do malicious things, and that's end of day the reality of the world we live in.
Yeah, I think the big concern here is that it took 8 months for Docker Hub to pull down these malicious images.
Mm-hmm.
And that is far too slow of a response time for a company growing the way that Docker is.
Mm-hmm.
So did it take them 8 months from the time they were notified, or 8 months?
They were notified. They were notified of the first attack August 7th, 2017 in GitHub as a GitHub issue.
Okay.
And the user account, this was all done under one user account in Docker Hub. And that user account was still up until a couple days ago.
All right.
Well, I'm crashing.
We're getting to a good point in the show to wrap things up. I do want to take.
It's not as late as it is on the East Coast right now, but it's still late.
I do want to take 2 minutes and just rehash the fact that the clock is ticking. I can actually have a literal clock ticking here, but Wave PHP is right around the corner. Have we hit the 100-day? We're under 100 days from Wave PHP right now. Oh my God, John, we're under 100 days from Wave PHP.
What?
Wave PHP is happening September 19th through the 21st. John still has not raised the rates yet. So if you're interested in coming to San Diego for a pretty awesome community-driven conference, we have the speakers out there. You're going to want to jump on and buy tickets because John and I are about to throw down on these ticket prices. He's costing.
I think once we release the schedule, actual talks, we should raise it.
Why? Why? Okay. So that has to be happening very soon because we need to get these prices up, people. Get your Wave PHP ticket soon because if I have my way, we will be ending the early bird special very, very soon. It looks like you committed to July 31st here. I'm looking at the website right now. It says sale ends July 31st.
I haven't committed to anything that's subject to change.
No changes. Oh, wait, we're only in June. Fine, we're not going through July with that ticket price. That ticket price is ending June 30th at latest. I'm ending that. Holy crap, man. Yes,
you guys have had the ad in PHP Arc for how long?
One episode. One month.
No, it's been a couple months, I think, actually.
In the actual magazine, you've had it for like 3 months, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been there for a while. And honestly,
that's enough.
I agree, right? It's been there long enough. Yeah. But yeah, we have the speakers announced. I think are we missing any speakers now? I think we have all the speakers up, right? Did we add Brian? Brian's the newest.
We're talking about having another one. There might be another one.
Oh, that's right. We're still missing. We already announced Amanda, but she hasn't sent us a image yet. Headshot. But Thomas, did you see your buddy, your fellow Peak PHP organizer Brian Johnson's on there now?
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, he's there.
I should go to that event.
We heard from him, so he's been added. We added Sean Mays from LaraChat. He's going to be coming down and doing a talk for us. Maybe a couple talks. We'll see.
I don't know. Trump may be blocking people from Canada soon. You never know.
That's true. There's gonna be a tariff to get him in.
And just a shout out too for Sean Mays. You posted a video of him in the Deaf Hockey League.
Yeah, so that's a lot of people don't know this about Sean. He's a fascinating cat, man. And I didn't know it about Sean for the longest time. So for those of you not aware, Sean hosts. They haven't had an episode for a while, but he hosts a podcast for Laravel specific topics called LaraChat Live. I've been on that for about a year. They're kind of in hiatus right now. They're reformatting. He's very involved with the Laravel community, very involved with the development community, does speaking, runs a PHP user group, and all of this. And he is like 100% deaf. He has some pretty advanced hearing aids now. And when I actually met up with him in real life for the first time for Laracon in New York, he had just recently gotten these new hearing aids, and they're like, I'm a hearing enabled person, and I'm jealous of his hearing abilities because they're like bionic ears. He was showing me all the settings he could do to like focus on a particular conversation, or drown out noise, or listen to other noises. It's really cool. But the fascinating thing about him is he's built so much of his image around communication, and he speaks very well. I mean, I'm a native English speaking person, and he speaks better than I do. He's Canadian, so he's native English speaking as well, but he's deaf, and he pronounces better. But I hadn't realized he was deaf probably for like the first 6 months of our relationship. and then it had come out, and I'm like, wait a minute, how are we communicating? And we've had, I've been.
They were laying in bed together, and Eric says, "I feel like you never listen to me." And, wow!
Wait, let me turn these things on back.
I've always been very interested in deaf culture. My wife and I took several years of college sign language courses for no other reason because it interests us. We didn't have family members or didn't know people. Yeah, so I love sign language. I love the deaf culture. So I picked his brain. But fascinating cat, and he's a huge hockey player. He's Canadian, so I think he has to be. It's by law. So it's cool. Yeah, I'll find that link and I'll post that in the show notes. The kind of funny thing about it is, and he mentions it in the video. He took his kid. He has a daughter. Took her ice skating wearing the hearing aids. He doesn't normally wear his hearing aids when he plays hockey. It's an all deaf league, and he just doesn't wear them. But he took his daughter skating wearing these new hearing aids for the first time. He kept thinking that he kept hearing a sound. He's like, "What's happening? What is that
like
noise?"
Static or something.
Yeah, and he kept looking around, and he said for the first time in his life, he realized that skating made a sound. Like you could hear people skating behind you. You could hear skates on the ice. He never even realized that. I'm like, that just blew my mind. It's like, holy crap, are you kidding me? He's like, no, it never occurred to him that skating on ice made a sound. And it's just,
now
it was
he
very
has
touching.
Advantage from the league.
Exactly. So I'll find that article. Thanks for mentioning that, Thomas. I'll find that article and I'll post that. And yes, Sean, again, will be at Wave PHP and is one of our presenters. He's looking at doing one talk for sure. He really wants to do 2 talks. Now that we're trying to fit this other beef talk in, we may or may not have room for 2 talks from him. We'll see. But great guy. If you run into him at Wave PHP, because I'm sure many of you will be attending, make sure you give the guy a pat on the back. Give the guy a pat on the back and let him know he does a great job just for the community as a whole. He really does. If you're not familiar with LairChat online or LairChat Slack, go check that out as well. Okay, thank you. That was our Wave PHP segment. Sorry. Every from now to Wave PHP, we're going to highlight a presenter a week. No, I'm just making that up.
but we can. All right.
But we can.
It's time to wrap this up. This has been a great episode. We're way too far into it. Not quite as long as last week's. Still plenty long.
Yeah, still has to be edited by me. So long enough.
Yeah, we can talk for another 10, 15 minutes, John. I'm not editing this podcast, so we're good. All right.
This is a wrap.
We're wrapping it up. Episode 110 in the can. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm John Congdon.
I'm Tom Rideout. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Somebody kick your dog there, Thomas? What the hell happened there? Jesus. All right, stop the recording.
Let's look at this picture that Jesse Decker used for his speaker profile.
Hey, hi, Potato. I'm not sure what your real name is, man, but thanks for joining us. We live record every week. You're always welcome. I'm going to be ending the stream now, which I think cuts off the YouTube chat. So I didn't want you to think we were just abandoning you, though. So cool, man. Take it easy, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Have a good night.
Talk to you later, man. Bye.
Bye.